Good Thursday to you kiddos. I should have all the tests graded from this week, and I know that some of you aren't very pleased with your test grade, and I totally get it. I'm going to give you a bonus opportunity probably on Friday, so you can do it over the weekend if you want to try to get bonus for your test. You don't have to do it, but it's just going to be an opportunity. Also next week, I thought I was going to get to come back, but the doctor says that they want me to have one more week, and then I'll have spring break, and then I'll be 100% after spring break and ready to go. And sorry, it's just taking longer, and it's not a pleasant situation, but I'm getting a lot better. And so I appreciate you guys thinking of me. Man, I know Mr. McAllister's treating you good, and hopefully this is working out for you. But what I want to do next week is set up a couple days where I can Zoom with each one of you guys, the class, for 15, 20 minutes, a couple days. And this is what I want to accomplish with those Zooms. One, I want to see your face. It's been a while since just seen your face. That's number one. Two, I'm going to go ahead and check your notes that day, where like you'll Zoom and then I'll just call your name and you'll hold up your notes, show them to me so I can go ahead and give you credit for that. And then I'm also going to do that with your bell ringers, where you show up, hold them up, and I can see those that way. That way I can go ahead and get you a grade for them, and that'll help out if you didn't do well on your test. So that's the plan next week, and I'll get more information for you on that probably on Monday, what day. But we got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and start with Greece and Persia again. Hopefully you watched that video on the Battle of Marathon and learned some things about it, the first battle of the Persian Wars. But getting back to Persia, let's talk about the person who started the Persian Empire, Cyrus the Great, who created the Persian Empire, which was the largest empire at the time, going all the way into India and to Asia Minor and pretty much all of the Middle East. He was successful because of his army of immortals, which we're going to talk a little bit more about today, and his cavalry units. His son is named Cambyses, which is just going to be a bonus quiz guy, is going to be killed in a rebellion after Cyrus's death, and then Darius is going to be the king of Persia, who's going to come in conflicts with the Greeks. Darius did some good things in the Persian Empire. He broke his empire into 20 different provinces and put satraps, or local governors, in control that would make sure that things run smoothly. It's going to be easier for him to deal with the big picture stuff, and these 20 governors dealing with what's going on in their provinces. A little bit about the Persian Empire. Their capital is called Persepolis, and their religion, which was only practiced in Persia, was called Zoroastrianism. It was created by a philosopher named Zoroaster, and it was only practiced in Persia and never really spread outside of that. So why did the Persians and the Greeks get into it? Well, the Greeks, specifically the city of Athens, aided in some rebellions in the Persian Empire. And when the Persian Empire found out about this, if you remember what the video said Darius, every time before he had a meal, someone would come to him and say, Darius, king, remember the Athenians and what they did. So he was not happy with the Greeks. He sent an army over to try to conquer and punish the Greeks, and by doing that, he was unsuccessful. They landed at Marathon. The Greeks repelled that attack. They tried to go around and attack Athens, but the Greeks were able to march over and defend Athens. It talked about in the video how hard. I mean, this armor is not light. I mean, they had to basically on a steady jog from the battlefield that they just fought all the way to Athens to defend that. I mean, you're talking about majorly in shape. Goodness sakes, I think I would be tired just putting the armor on. So Darius is going to die, but his son Xerxes is going to take over. Now Xerxes is going to remember what happened to his dad. I know this is a lot, but he's going to remember what happened to his dad and what happened at Marathon. So basically, what he's got some daddy issues and says, I'm going to do what daddy couldn't do. I'm going to go and I'm going to punish these Greeks, and they're going to wish that they never heard my name. If you've ever heard of the movie 300, you know the famous line, "This is Sparta." You know, I don't know, maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you do. But the movie 300 is based on this. The last video on Marathon talked a little bit about when the Persians went to Athens and Sparta asking them to give them treasures for not attacking them, and Sparta literally threw the Persian envoy into a ravine. Yeah, that's going to be sort of what's going on here. So Xerxes says, I'm going to go take care of these Greeks because daddy couldn't do it, I'm going to do it. So what he does is, and I'm going to go back a couple slides, so bear with me, okay? He's going to go, well, that's not a good map, I'm sorry. Okay, here's one down here at the bottom. Okay, so he's going to go, if you find Greece there to the left, and find where Lydia was, where the Persian Empire was, he's going to go around the Aegean Sea. And as he goes around the Aegean Sea, he's going to take Greek city-states. They're either going to surrender to him without a fight, or they're going to fall to him, until he eventually reaches the Peloponnesus. Now, the Peloponnesus is that small little area at the bottom of the peninsula of Greece. Okay? And what happens is, going onto the Peloponnesus, in that little peninsula on the Greek peninsula, there was a small pass. Okay, on one side of it there were hills, and the other side of it there were hills, and you couldn't get down to the Peloponnesus unless you went through that, between those two groups of hills. You had to go through that small little area to get there. And on the Peloponnesus is Athens and Sparta and some of the other Greek city-states. So the Persians had to go through that to go and try to conquer those cities. So what happens is, and this pass is called Thermopylae. What happens is that 300 Spartans, okay, 300 Spartans. It says Spartans sent 1,400 men. Don't disregard that. It was literally 300 that would stay. So some of the Greek city-states sent men, but when the Spartans saw these tens of thousands of Persians coming their way, they told the other men to leave, and that they were going to defend. 300 Spartans were going to defend that pass at Thermopylae against tens of thousands of Persians. Yes, you heard me right. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. If you had a piece of paper and you drew 300 little check marks, okay? It's going to be pretty big, right? Try getting a piece of paper and drawing 10,000 to 100,000 check marks and see what that compares, okay? These 300 Spartans defended that pass for 3 days against all those Persian soldiers and killed 10,000 of them. Killed 10,000 of them. I mean, that is unbelievable. And he said, well, how did they do it? Well, one, these Spartan soldiers were bad dudes. I mean, they were bad dudes. They were the best of the best. We're going to talk about Spartan training a little bit later. I mean, these guys, you're talking about the tough as nails. They were tough as nails, okay? And they were so good. Their whole life centered around military. I mean, their whole life was based on military training, fighting. I mean, that was it. So when they fought these Persians, this was like something they were enjoying. This wasn't war. This was, oh, I enjoy doing this. This is what I trained for. So for 3 days, they defend against this pass and are successful for 3 days until they're betrayed by another Greek soldier, and the Persians get behind them and eventually finish them off. But you're going to watch another decisive battles today on Thermopylae. It's historically one of the greatest stories ever, with these 300 men defending against tens of thousands of soldiers and being successful. If they would have been betrayed, they might have held that pass. I mean, Leonidas was their king, and he was a bad dude too. So eventually, what's significant about Thermopylae is that because the Spartans held at them for 3 days, other Greek cities on the Peloponnesus could regroup and were able to raise armies up enough to be able to defend their cities. Now, when the Persians got to Athens, no one was there. The Athenians had evacuated the city to regroup, so the Persians burnt the city of Athens. And ultimately, it leads to a major naval battle between the Persians and the Athenian navy, in which the Athenian navy defeats the Persian navy. There was a movie a few years ago called The Rise of the 300, which is about Salamis. Salamis is the battle between the Athenian navy and the Persian navy in a small little bay. And the Athenian navy was able to navigate around the Persian boats and were successful in defeating the Persian navy. So there goes the Persian navy. And then at a place called Plataea, the Greek army defeats the Persian army, and the Persian army has to go wee all the way home, not able to go and conquer the Greeks, which is a major upset in history. The Persian Empire was the largest at the time, and to be able not to be able to take the Greeks, it was a big deal. So I'm going to have you watch this decisive battles on Thermopylae. You're going to answer some questions on it. Hollywood's made a lot of money off the story of this 300 at Thermopylae. No, we're not going to watch it. It is way too graphic for you. But sometimes I think it comes on FX and they cut out some of that part. So, but anyway, what we're going to be talking about Friday is comparing Athens and Sparta. And we'll review some of the Persian War. So let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Remember, also tomorrow I'll give you a bonus opportunity. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys next week, at least on Zoom. So we'll figure something out. So take care now.